So I've been wanting to make this video for a while. I made a short documentary in 2021 and it has led to so many benefits that I wanted to explain the process, give a director's commentary, and kind of give a walkthrough of how a passion project has led to so many more opportunities in the world of festivals, because I was not familiar. So one of the things I had to do was make a poster, and this was before I had been accepted to all the festivals. So there's 4 laurels on here. We ended up having 6 nominations and won, and everything is new when I'm trying to figure out this world, and that's part of the fun. Now, mind you, when I started this, the only thing I was gonna do was do an Instagram reel. Reels had just started to gain traction, and I wanted to find a fighter. It was someone that I actually gone to high school with. We didn't have a big connection, and I decided this would be perfect. I can get him training in his gym, having a fun time, and as we were there, he said, you know, I have a fight coming up, and the journey began. So this is a 12-minute doc. I'm gonna do my best to add only the valuable parts, but really show that this is something doable. This is not the best documentary, tons of mistakes. Here we go.
Here's your winner, out of the blue corner, David Silver.
So that beat shot was, there's not that many filming days on this entire project, maybe 14 film days, and I knew I needed one just for some creative B-roll. I knew it was gonna have a purpose, so we got up at sunrise. He was willing, and this is, oh, let me explain the kit. So the kit was a GH5S, a 24-105, and a whole bunch of different wires for audio. I think I had a splitter where I could have one lavalier, and then my shotgun mic, and a whole janky V-mount rig.
When you're in there, it's just you and the other guy and the ref, and there's nothing anybody can really do to get in the middle of that, and it's all up to you and what you did, what the work you put in. You got to take care of business. This is what I want to do as a professional.
I thought I needed to start off with a strong, fast-paced montage. What I wish I had started off with was a verite scene, something that just organically showed him doing his thing and then moved into this. There's some issues you might have already seen in that intro. The soundtrack is not my favorite. I was using Artlist at the time, and this is what they had, and it wasn't one of the most important parts for me. So when I start the doc, I wanted to immediately go into the story and start leaving the breadcrumb trail. So the intro's purpose was, he said, I want to be a professional fighter, and he was also showing the stakes of, you know, all the sweat, blood, and effort that goes into this. And I decided on the intro title, right in the corner, you're gonna see the title of how long he has to the fight, and that is to set the audience up. The clock's already ticking.
So I've been in the regional MMA circuit for about 3 years now. I'm 7-3, won 3 belts, and so far I've had 3 TKOs and 2 submissions.
This kind of qualifying stage, just to give his list of why he's a fighter that you should pay attention to, why he's good, was originally 1.5 minutes longer. And I'll talk about it later, but I was able to give this film to, I wouldn't even call him a friend, it was someone that I met who did a massive favor for me. I met him at a film festival, and I sent him the total rough draft, and he's like, you need to take all of that backstory out. It is boring, it gives nothing, just tell me he's a fighter and I believe it. And so I cut out so much. Now the biggest issue here is the lavalier is right there. I didn't know this was gonna be my interview that drove the whole film. We were kind of around other fighters. This is behind the gym, in Orlando, and I was a little nervous, and I just said, I'll just leave it there. I wish I had just hidden the mic. I hide the mic on all my shoots. I don't know why I thought this one would be different, but it's an eyesore and it's there throughout the entire film.
I've been playing around with boxing with my friends ever since about middle school. I was always active. I had to move my body. I was one of those kids that if I didn't get out and do something, I was bored. I just needed that energy outlet, and was watching the UFC, and I fell in love with the sport, and I was like, man, I wanted to do that. But in order to fight mixed martial arts, you had to know jiu-jitsu.
So he's saying his background, still, I think a lot of this could be cut out. Now you'll notice here in this scene, the lighting changes drastically. This was just a natural lit interview, and it's in Florida. The sun went behind the clouds.
In love with the sport, and I was like, man, I wanted to do that.
And it went away.
But in order to...
Nothing really I could do unless I had picked a better spot, which might have been the right choice.
To fight mixed martial arts, you had to know jiu-jitsu. So I started doing jiu-jitsu when I was about 20 years old. I started fighting for this regional organization here called Combat Night. So after my second fight for Combat Night, they already had me in the main event fighting for a title, for the 155 titles. It was an amazing victory, and then after that I just had such great momentum. They wanted to have me fight for the 145-pound belt. Ended up winning that as well, so I became a double champ for Combat Night.
So now when I look back on it, it still has way too much of this qualifying period. I'm kind of already checking out. I should have just said, I picked up fighting when I was a kid, and now I'm a double champ for the regional promotion. I don't think any of the other information would have been missed if it was gone. But you can see there is a lot of different types of archival. This video wasn't on YouTube, but he had it on his phone. So I just filmed him, play it on his phone, and then I went back into the promotions Instagram, was able to screenshot this stuff, but it didn't have a cohesive display of the archival photos, and I wish I had picked something that had a nice consistent theme. So let's move on. He said he had these belts, and we did some product shots of it.
I'm pumped, and I can't wait to keep fighting for these belts and get into these pro organizations and make some money.
So he says he wants to become a pro.
Like definitely winning the belts kind of let people know that I was serious, and I'm going places. It really made me decide or figure out that this is what I want to do as a professional.
So this really made me figure out this is what I want to do as a professional. It took way too long to get there. I know he kind of reworded that in the intro, but if we're looking at the energy and the pacing of this film, we've been in a slump for the first 2 minutes. And if you're in a theater, that's okay, because you're kind of sitting there, you're going through all of the short films. But if this is online, this is taking way too long to get to it. And that was one of the things I thought I fixed with the snappy intro. But I need the story already progressing, and this is just too long of a gap.
The cool thing about skating and surfing is it's an individual sport. Kind of make your own rules. Everything you do is for yourself, and you're having fun, and when you land a trick, it's all you. You didn't have to depend on your teammates. Fighting's a lot like that too. It's an individual sport. Of course, you have your coaches and your guidance. Definitely brings me confidence when I know I've done everything I could.
So we made a special day. We had tried to go out surfing so many times. I live about an hour from him, and we were able to align on one day. And I brought my Tamron 150 to 600. It's an older lens, and I could get so tight in on him. By the way, this whole film was shot in 1080p, 10-bit in ProRes, because I had a Atomos Ninja at the time. And I knew that this difference, visual difference, location difference, would be huge to kind of set some markers as you're going through. he got a couple good waves. I filmed it in, I want to say, 240 frames per second on the GH5S. Great camera. I could still use it today if I wasn't on the Sony system. But I was very, very happy with what I was able to capture. The color is a little off. It's a little magenta-y. I'm not a professional colorist by any means, so the color is off on the entire film.
To prepare, there are maybe some fights that I slacked off a little bit, and that does kind of get in the back of your head. Man, I should have ran there, or I should have went to kickboxing practice or jiu-jitsu or whatever. And so now, like when I'm working for my fights, I'm just making sure I do everything, even if I don't feel like going to practice that day. I think about what it's like going to be on fight day, and I don't want to even have those thoughts that I didn't do enough. So making sure I'm getting to every practice, and that's the main thing. If you're well prepared, you know, your confidence is high.
If you're well prepared, your confidence is high. He gave me some of these phrases throughout the filming that I was like, you perfectly encapsulated the meaning of what you're trying to convey. And I didn't know if we were going to be able to achieve that. Maybe it was just my preconception. Oh, you know, fighters aren't able to very eloquently express their feelings. But what we got into as we did multiples of these interviews is he kind of felt like he was in a therapy session every single time. And as we would get towards the end of the interview, he was an open book. So I was able to get these phrases that were just perfect for moving the story through.
Perfect bit of calm and nervous at the same time. Nerves are good, they keep you safe. I know once I get into the ring, the anxiousness goes away.
All of those lines were recorded right then and there, hours before the fight, but the audio was so rough. I had a lav on him, I had a shotgun mic, but with the announcer and just everybody playing music when they're warming up, you could tell it sounded like they were different days, different microphones. It was really bad, but I knew that the statements that he was saying would be something that the audience would be able to understand. So I know once I get into the ring, the anxiousness goes away. That's the thing that I'm wondering about, is how scared are you when they close the door?
Hey dude, good job, bro. You got him a triangle? I was getting my hands back.
I appreciate it.
This is the new improved DZ machine.
This was a little hard to shoot. I was really working on getting coverage. I've seen in a lot of documentaries, when the main person is talking, you want to get some shots of their mouth not moving from a side where you can just put in any bit of dialogue that you want. And that was purposely what I did here. So you'll see some close-ups on the hands later, shooting over the shoulder.
It's going to be nice once it's over and you get to watch it and you're like, man, you know, compared to that one and compared to this fight, like, it's always nice to see the improvements. It validates the hard work. Wins help too, of course, but seeing the improvements.
I mean, that is just such a cool conversation that he was having with his coach in the midst of all this. So the coach was saying, you know, winning is fine, but we're here to advance your skill. Every time we need to walk away with improvements. Sometimes, you know, winning isn't the best thing. A fast win, you're not learning very much.
I'm excited for you. Hell yeah, man. I'm happy we're playing on the same card.
It's awesome, man.
And so David right here is kind of moving through the motions. I thought this scene was really cool because you get to see all the downtime that these fighters have. Jamal was not mic'd. He was just picked up on David's mic. And there was one moment in here, I don't think it's gonna show, but David and his coach were towards the left of the frame and they were looking down at the fights. And I came over, I had my little rig, and I walked over and I kind of held it like this, so it, I wasn't pushing it in their face. And I asked them a question and hit record, and both of their eyes just went straight to my camera because the back of the Ninja had the tally light on, and it was just, and it completely killed the mood. They both looked at it and were like, oh yeah, you're recording every word I say. And they kind of just said, yeah, gave a really short answer. And I immediately went into the Atomos settings, turned the tally off, but it was too late. So that's something that I think about now when I'm filming doc subjects. Do I want the front tally light on or off? I want to see the rear or the side, but you don't want to take your subject out of the space.
Hey, good job again. I like how Rich wrapped them. Honestly, they feel better than they've ever felt. Just gotta go do what I do, baby.
For me, he's my buddy. It's stressful to watch. I'm gonna tell you at the end of the film, the worst thing that could have happened if you're doing a film and how I got around it, and it cost a lot of money. So just planting that seed later on, it's a story. So that is the guy in blue is Phil Rowe. He's a current UFC fighter. So it was cool for David to have in his film some active UFC fighters are aware of him, giving him props, saying good job before the fight. Okay, the tough part here is his opponent looks exactly like him. They both have blonde ginger beards, about the same hair length, white guys. So David, main character, has blue on his gloves. Owen has red. Look at the shorts too. So I intentionally switched it to 60 frames per second. I wanted this kind of like slow, weird vibe right before the fight started, and the music choice will reflect that too.
Are you ready for your main event of the evening?
Okay, right before we begin, this is very hard to... Each fight is 3 rounds of 3 minutes, 9 minutes. And there's multiple fights in this film. The cutting out process was very, very difficult. So instead of just trying to shorten the fight and only show the highlights, I had to take a different approach. We'll get your thoughts on it. So I decided to put some heavy moments in there, show him doing some damage, and then this is a false ending right here. You see the fight going a certain way.
Yeah, I do. I see me overwhelming him with a variety of strikes. Using my feints, using my jab. I also see me out-scrambling him in the grappling exchanges. If I want it to go to the ground, I can put it on the ground. If I don't, I can keep it standing. So I feel, and I really see that I'm going to be in total control of the fight. And wherever I want it to go, it's going to go.
little bit of a music switch, showing him and his girlfriend.
The more I learn about jiu-jitsu and kickboxing, the more I realize how much I don't really know and how much there is to learn.
Setting up a little bit of foreshadowing.
I didn't underestimate him. I just miscalculated. Miscalculated a certain, just one moment.
Participating in the kickboxing event at the location. The guys said they were knocked out for about 2 minutes. 363 is on scene and requesting response emergency.
That was an extremely scary moment for me, for his girlfriend, his coaches, his twin brother, and I didn't really know what to do because the moment was so much heavier than I could have thought. So I just rolled, with that 24 to 105. I was able to stay a little bit away, and I thought maybe this will be beneficial to have this footage. I really wasn't thinking about the documentary at that point because if you heard in the radio call from the paramedics, they said he was knocked out for 2 to 3 minutes. So it was about 3. And he went out, the crowd went nuts, and he did not move. So we don't know if he's paralyzed, if he is in critical shape. We don't know what type of concussion he has. It was really scary. And when they were strapping him to the gurney, that's when I picked up that radio call, and I was just really glad that I had, my shotgun mic on top. I brought a bare bones package to this fight because he said, yeah, it's just gonna be a one-off thing. It's not a big deal. You can come if you want. So I didn't bring all the gear that I did on the first one, and I wish I had, because I just would have been more prepared. And now when I'm doing doc stuff, of course, if it's a paid client, you get all the gear every day. But just for me, I'd rather have it than not have it. Now, a really scary part is about to come up.
Yeah, I'm one of those guys that I'm the first one to admit that I'm not the best at everything, and I don't necessarily know everything perfect. And also, everybody does things differently. And that's the beauty about it, and that's the beauty about mixed martial arts is you have your own style, your own way, and you can do it in many different ways. There's no one set way to train.
This is from the first interview, remember, and I thought it was interesting that he had this forethought before getting knocked out. This would be great to have after getting knocked out. He already knew the wide spectrum of this sport. I really do like the GH5S color, by the way. I've used it for a few years before I switched to the C70, and I always thought Vlog L had a really great image.
There's no one set way to do anything. And it's a lot like life. So, I think that's the perfect thing for me.
So there's no one set way to do anything. It's a lot like life. He was able to be so reflective. And as the documentarian, I was so happy that he opened up about this stuff. And he wasn't opening up to me. He was just opening up himself.
It's pretty much what I love to do, and I don't want to do anything else.
This is the first time he has seen this, and I knew I needed it to be on film. So I asked him, hey, can I come over with the footage? Can I film you watch it? And he did have a friend to the right of me. We're at a Chinese restaurant right now. And the friend kept interjecting, and he just didn't understand what this process of documentary filming was. And I had to keep saying, hey, just hold on. He's mic'd. Let me just hear from him. Because the friend was being a friend, and he was giving comforting advice of, hey, it happens, on to the next, you'll get better, this isn't a big deal. And that was just trash for my audio. I had to scrape off so many bits so I could clearly hear him. But that, you know, I guess that's how it goes sometimes when you're in someone's life. No one's gonna be acting like they're on set. So I let that roll. I didn't want to cut it. I didn't want to break the moment. I just wanted you to watch him watch himself. Because a lot of this, of course, he did not remember. He had no clue. And I thought that moment was important to maintain in its condition.
You know, I was super confident in this fight. And it's just, like I said, I felt good in the back too. I went to throw the overhand and boom. One of those things that just happens, I guess.
And I wanted to give him control of the laptop. What point does he go back? What is he most interested in?
Just concentrating on my moves and not my opponent's moves. And I won't make that mistake again.
Again, didn't hide the mic. This was filmed on a Tamron 10-24, so the GH5S has a micro 4/3 center. I had this micro 4/3 sensor. I had the speed booster from Metabones on, and then the Tamron 10-24. So it's like a Super 35 coverage. And this is at 10. And I was trying to zoom in and out to get all these different frames. You can see, you know, I have the straight on extreme wide. We have this angle off to the diagonal, a little bit tighter, probably around 15 mil, and then a tighter straight on. Because this is just one location. It was about 15 minutes, and I needed to make it look different, something that I could cut in and out from.
My moves and not my opponent's moves. And I won't make that mistake again. The only
I love seeing the fidgeting with his fingers. You know, he feels it. He knows the lesson that he needs to learn out of this.
thing that I'm gonna do differently is if I have the choice, I'm gonna take longer breaks in between fights, because we just fought. And I didn't really have time to like relax and then get back into camp.
That's kind of like a little wrap-up statement of this is what I'm going to take out of it. I need to take a longer time in between fights so I can have the appropriate amount of time to prepare.
Shit, whatever. Heal up, next one.
So I needed some bit of text to kind of advance the story. I wasn't able to find this type of dialogue from anything we had filmed before. I'm not really a fan of white text on black screen, but I wasn't able to find a solution at the time. So crescendo and music. So I did mic the coach, the guy in blue, screaming in the right side. I mic'd him for the first fight and this fight, and it's really, really hard to get his audio. I don't know if it was the lavaliers that I was using or maybe all of the RF in the room, or the level that he was screaming at, because it was cutting in and out. He might have been just peaking it, and the microphone pack just dropped audio for a second until it went down. But I had to like piece together this type of audio. You can hear it drop. So he's saying, grab that underhook. He just swam his left arm under the guy. Gets to the back. goes in for the rear naked choke. Okay, so this is a really critical moment in the film that I need to be thinking and extremely aware. So you can see here, I'm about eye level. I just got extremely lucky and they landed on my side of the cage, right in front of me. I remember feeling, I can't believe this is happening. There's 8 sides to an octagon and Dave gets double-legged into my panel. So he's bringing the rear naked choke in, and it's really cool. You get to see him climb his fingers as he's trying to squeeze it. But from this angle, you can't see the ref really. Right? So you can't see the ref. You can see the fingers coming in, and I remember saying, okay, if the ref stops this, all you're gonna see is hands come in, and you're not really gonna know what's gonna happen. So I just made a quick shift and went from looking about this angle to looking up. So I pivot, and this is so much better. Now I am watching the ref decide when is the moment that I'm gonna stop the fight. And I got the tap. So a lot of times when I'm filming MMA, I still film for this promotion became a client of mine after I released this film. You don't always get to see all this. You don't always get to see the ref. You don't always get to see the hand tap. They might be tapping this side. So the fact that I was able to show the choke, show the tap, show the ref, come in and stop it was the type of visual confirmation I need to stamp he won. That's me screaming. I couldn't focus fast enough. I went the wrong way.
Here's your winner, my rear naked choke. Out of the blue corner, David Silver.
This is Mitch on the left. He is the promoter, and he was very interested throughout this whole process because Dave had to ask him, can I bring a filmer in? What for? You know, we don't want just all cameras coming into our company. And he said he's doing a documentary on me. And Mitch had a relationship with David, and that is the reason why he said yes. He says, David's a great guy. He's super nice. You can let your filmer, this David, come in. And then I was able to meet Mitch, and he's a great guy as well. We've been able to have this business relationship that's been going on since 2021. From this channel, I was able to source some editors. Basically, I was filming the majority of their events, and I couldn't handle the editing workload. It's fun, but I just didn't have the time. So I asked my YouTube audience, here's some sample footage. Send me the edits that you guys make, and I'll send them to Mitch, and he can choose who he wants. And right now, we are not talking to, we are using 3 different editors that were sourced from my YouTube channel. So shout out to you guys. I appreciate for taking the editing workload off of me because I can't handle it.
Looking at, I'm pinpointing about 2 years till I make it in the UFC, and then I'm gonna fight till I'm 40. So we're probably going, 8 years after that. So, that's what I want to do. So.
That epilogue, remember, was from the first interview that we did, and it was perfect. I'm gonna go into the UFC in 2 years. That's my goal, and then I'm gonna fight till I'm 40. And you get to see him smile, get a little bit more sense of who his character is. And this is a ridiculously cropped in shot of him shadow boxing on the beach, but I needed a clean frame for everybody to know that I made this film, and I was really happy with it. So, and I mentioned before, there was something scary, and then there was the biggest mistake that I did. So let's start with scary first. So you saw his girlfriend, right? I gave her a couple bits of moments in there, and she was by his side the entire time. I intentionally did not get anybody else's perspectives because I wanted you to be inside a fighter's mind, see how they think, and try to sympathize with them. And that was a huge, huge mistake, because by limiting your perspective, he's not the only one in his life. So why would I portray it like that? And later on, I found out that when the first fight happened, and then 2 months later, when the very, very scary knockout happened, that she followed him to the hospital and was with him until 3 a.m. when they released him. And then the final one where he decides, let's come back and fight again. She was pregnant the entire time. And if I had just done one interview with her, I would have found that out. So imagine seeing the future father of your children getting knocked out, unconscious, and stretchered to the hospital. I should have gone to her, his parents, his friends, and it would have added so many more layers to this film and made it a much more complex thing that you could sink your teeth into. And I didn't do that.
Yeah, that's how I was in the ambulance too. I was like, man, I was supposed to go pro after this. And the ambulance people are like, you can still go pro.
How was your girlfriend afterwards?
Pretty good, because in the hospital I remembered her number, so I got hella brownie points for that. It's like, you can't even remember your own name, but you remember my number?
Cute little moment that would have been so much bigger if you had had that previous knowledge of where their relationship was. I just wanted to pack a bunch of info at the end for anybody who watches this and was curious what it was shot on, when it was shot, and I mean, produced, directed, edited. I just did the whole thing. And we got my little end card. And that was my first film. The scariest part that I alluded to earlier was, before I had edited this, I had those 14 days spanned over 3 months of filming, or no, more than that. I think 6 months of filming. And I had it all on a spinning hard disk drive, just like this. So this is what I would put all of my media on, and only one copy, by the way. It would have been fine, but it was one of those nights where I was organizing footage, putting, you know, things onto a timeline. It might not have even been editing this project. It was getting late. I said, let's take the laptop, let's take my drink, let's take my phone, and let's walk back to my room. Well, the drink started to tip, so I lifted this way, and the hard drive slipped off, fell about chest high down to the ground, did not explode, and I didn't want to think about it. I was just, nope, we're gonna put this back on and we're gonna go sleep, and I'll deal with it in the morning. Plug it back in, and it docks, and I was like, oh my gosh, that could have been the worst problem. Put it away. Later that day, I said, I need to do some more editing work. It didn't dock, wasn't recognized, no device. Pulled it out, put it back in. I hear the disc spinning. Okay, it's working. Take it out, let's put it back in. Take it out, put it back in. All right, 10 times, 15 times. It's not working, but it did work earlier. So I called a recovery service, let him know what happened, and he said, are you plugging it in and out still? I said, yeah, I'm trying to get it to work. He said, stop doing that. Basically, the disc is not spinning flat. It's like this. And the needle is now hitting this and then grinding into the part that is off kilter. Do not plug it in anymore. Basically, you are destroying the data right now. So I said, okay. He says, you can send it to us. We'll diagnose it. I went to a place in Orlando. They sent it to Miami. Miami said, we're going to send it to our head office in Ohio or something. About a week, 2 weeks later, I get a call, and they said, good news, bad news. Good news is the disc is recoverable, but that doesn't ensure all the footage will be there, or even most of the footage will be there. Because you gave us a 4 terabyte drive, we have to do 4 terabytes of recovery. even though you only used a terabyte. For 4 terabytes of recovery, giving you a new drive to ship it back, it will be $2,000. And I was floored because I didn't know, do I buy my own footage back? Do I just continue? I have a great relationship with Dave. Let's just move on to the next fights. And I thought about it for about a week. And I thought, no, I have a story. I have a full story. I need my footage back. But I don't know if I'm going to get all of it. What if the knockout fight is gone? What if that wasn't recoverable? So I decided to roll the dice, wired them to 2K. The drive comes back a couple weeks. In the meantime, David's saying, hey, how's the film going? You know, I want to see what it looks like. And I'm like, well, we're working it out. Eventually I told him what happened. So I got the hard drive back, and I was looking through, and I missed a couple big interviews in there. I had all the fights, so I said, okay, that is the main thing I need. I still had the beach footage. I had the surfing footage. I said, I think I can puzzle piece this together even if I'm missing a few pieces. And I had some really, really good stuff. I had him doing some strength training with his physical conditioning coach, him working in a boxing gym. That was great too. I had some on-the-fly interviews. I didn't know that term back then, an OTF, but I only had the pieces that I had. And I was really, really, really glad that I bought my footage back. So this is a bad system. If you are archiving your footage, or this should really just be like a shuttle drive between devices, and you would rather go in a RAID or something higher level. There was a ton that I learned out of this. It didn't cost me a lot of money besides dropping my hard drive. It was just my gas to get to places. Like I said, about 14 shoot days, and I got to do it on my own time in between paid jobs. It was the most fulfilling project that I've ever done, and the benefit that I've got from it is I got a friend out of Dave. I got a contact with Mitch. They became now a repeat client, not a retainer, but a repeat client. Whenever they have events and I'm available, I'm there. And when a UFC director, or I'll say a director who has worked with the UFC many times, said, hey, I'm starting a new docuseries about Mitch's promotion. And all about, it's essentially the same idea. It's these guys who are working class, who are trying to make a better future. They love the sport, and this is their way to explode into the stratosphere. And I want to show how low it can go, and then maybe some of these guys can make it to the UFC, and it's like going to the NBA, the NFL. And they brought in crew from all over. They brought in a DP from the UFC, a guy who was working for NFL Films, who was Patrick Mahomes' main filmer in that new Netflix doc where they follow the 3 quarterbacks. It's just insane at the level of talent. The director asked Mitch, I need one more hand on the crew, someone who can operate a camera. And he goes, I got the guy. He's been working with us. He'd be happy to jump in. And I was so thankful he connected me, because I got to see a level of crew that I had never seen before. And talk about the cameras. Dragons, Heliums, or Monstros, FX9s, and I had my C70 at the time. And the funniest thing was, when I walked in, I saw all this beautiful gear, hundreds of thousands of dollars worth of equipment. They said, David, do you have a camera? And I said, yep, got a C70. And the dismissive comment of, all right, we'll get you a camera. I was like, huh. I thought the C70 was good, and it's Canon color and 10-bit and 422 and 4K, and nope, they're just fitting into this type of workflow. It's a great camera, but this is what they're shooting on. So they handed me a Komodo, said, have you ever shot with a Komodo before? And truthfully, I have held a Komodo in my friend's room and played with it and just adjusted some settings, and I let them know. I said, hey, I know how to basically operate this, but I'm not well versed in it. And they said, hey, it's pretty simple. You'll get it. And because I had seen some YouTube videos for no reason, I don't know why I was watching red videos a few years ago, but I remember them saying the traffic lights, the red, green, and yellow was an exposure meter, and if something hit the top light, it clipped the highlight, and if it hit the bottom, it clipped the low light. And I just said, hey, you guys use this, right, to monitor exposure? And they were like, yeah. Okay, just checking. And that's basically just what I use. I just try to make sure I wasn't clipping. It is difficult, though, in these types of scenarios where you have hot lights on the top and you're outside the cage and there's no light. This documentary got me into situations that I would never have been able to get in. And since then, I've been hired a couple times by that director. They have finished their season. They're pitching it to Netflix. The last I heard a month or two ago is they were meeting and pitching. So I hope I'm going to get to see my name on Netflix soon, all because of doing a passion project when I wanted to do an Instagram reel for a friend. And I didn't think that was going to happen. And now, if I was a smart guy, I would do another one of these, because you open up your network, you open up your creative abilities that you have inside of you, your problem solving, all of that comes out when you're forced to make a project. And it's really fun when you don't have a client. You are the end decider of everything. You and hopefully your character. So if you're thinking about making a story, I highly recommend it. And the other cool part, like I mentioned in the beginning, was I got to go to all these really, really interesting film festivals. So there was the Orlando Film Festival. That was amazing. Had my friends and family there. The Melbourne Independent Filmmakers Festival. The Universal Martial Arts Film Festival. I knew I was going to get into that one because this was during COVID, and who else is making MMA films? Now there's a million of them. And then this was a really nice one, the Sunscreen Film Festival in St. Pete. My film got to be screened on a AMC theater. And in the Orlando one, it got to go, I live in downtown Orlando. The main theater, 2 blocks from my house, was where they showed that as well. And then later on, after I made this, I was accepted into the Key West Film Festival, which was so cool. They screened it inside of an old Catholic church, and it was right during a hurricane, so we had to dip early. I got to meet so many people, and I kind of learned how festivals go and how they incentivize the directors to go to these free networking parties, free drinks, free food, and really, really connect. That's one of the benefits of getting your film into a festival. I initially did it because I just wanted this logo to put at the top. And then once I saw the real connection and networking benefit, it's just a fun experience. I highly recommend it. And I think if you already finished a film, pinpoint the right festivals to go to, because they do add up to $20 to $60 per entry, and I probably submitted to 10. But if you get in, squeeze everything out of that experience, because it's really, really fun, and you're with people who are finally just as excited and creatively stoked as you are, and happy to be showing their film in front of an audience. I think one of the coolest things of the whole process is I love to sit in the back row during the premiere, and I watch people watch my film. I saw one older woman, and she was taking pictures, and I was like, what is she taking pictures of my film for? I don't even know how that would be useful. They had a Q&A afterwards, and I said, hey, I saw you taking pictures. I was just curious. I'm not mad. What was that for? And she goes, you explained the fear and risk of a fight so well. My son's an MMA fighter, and this is how terrified I feel every time he steps into the cage. That was so cool to know that I connected with someone who is also in this world. The audience was really surprised too. Oh my gosh, your son's a fighter. Oh, that's great. You're basically qualifying how good this is from a person who really experiences it as well. And I had a talk with her afterwards, and she's like you showed the weird moments, the down moments, the high moments, and also in addition to all this, when I was talking with Dave after the second fight, he goes, I'm so sorry, man. I'm so sorry I lost. I know you wanted to make a really cool film. And I said, you just showed literally the highest highs that you can get. You're dancing around, your family's there, your training has paid off, you made your coaches happy. To the lowest of lows, you get knocked out in front of a crowd, people are filming it, it's on their phone, they're going crazy, and you get carted out into an ambulance. So I was like, I'm not glad you got hurt, but you are showing people everything that is happening and potentially can happen in here. That was actually a very hard point for me to decide, do I stop the film here? Because he said, I'm taking a break, I'm just doing jiu-jitsu. So I was wondering, is this the end of it? Do I just say 1 win, 1 loss and kind of use a wrap-up, statement? And, I wasn't the fastest to edit, so a couple months goes by and he goes, I'm taking a new fight. And I said, hey, I'll film it. Like, I want to go there, I want to film. But I was really, really hoping he was going to win, because if he had lost, I don't know what I would have done. Not every story needs a happy ending, but you become attached to your characters and you don't want to put them in a bad light because you see how hard they're struggling. Thank goodness he got the fight, and this was 2 years ago. So what did he say? 2 years later, I want to be in the UFC. He has not been contracted with the UFC. However, he has gone into, there's a Latin American production in Miami. He's fought for them a couple times, and then he got into new management, or got into someone who can manage, and they got him in a fight with the PFL. Didn't go his way. He got pretty busted up in that one, but was never out, and made it through the whole fight, and he's reassessing that. So that is something that I have to intentionally stop, is the story, because his story keeps going. The documentary needs to stop at a certain point, and that's very hard to decide when you're going through. When do I go back, or when do I stop? Do I need to go back? Do I need to get him to say something about a previous thing? It's really tough, but it's really fun and really satisfying when you're sitting in the theater and enjoying all of your hard work. So I highly recommend you guys do it. Let me know if you guys like this style. This was really, really cool. Let me show you the whole setup. So we got a messy table over there, screen recording with QuickTime, and we got the Aperture 200X with a lantern that is being double diffused by one of these 5-in-1 reflectors with everything taken off. We got a GoPro 7 on some gaff tape, and then that new light that I got giving me some hair light, some rim, just a little bit more shape. So let me know what have been the dumbest things that you've done while filming a documentary, because my list is really long, but I'm trying to learn from it, and I would like to hear how you guys got through those. All right, see you in the next one.